Yeah. All right. We're rolling. We're rolling. Brandon Lopez in the house. What's up, Brandon?
What's going on, Charlie?
Yeah.
It's good to be here with you.
Yeah, man. We had a sick meal at the Spumoni Gardens, man.
Oh my God. Great. I mean, fantastic Italian American food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was deep. That was super deep.
Yeah.
They do gluten-free, right? Which I don't eat the gluten-free, but I was
You don't have to
pretty blown
announce
away.
to the world that I'm that I've got a
Yeah, I'm already like negging you. I'm
Yeah,
already
exactly. You're already
I'm
setting
trying
me
to
up for failure, man.
Well, it's not failure, but it's emasculation because I wanted to because see, if I bring up gluten-free,
It's like
it's a way
allergies are fucking it's non-masculine. It's like
it's a way that I can do it in a way where neither of us will be canceled, anything. It's just I get to just like, "Oh, yeah, the gluten-free that must have been good for you. Was that okay?"
Jesus Christ.
Dude, look, dude, if intestinal fortitude is a measure of masculinity, I am like just like an embryo. Like I'm just not. I mean, it's like gluten's like the only thing I can digest. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Doesn't your mom like have like a
Oh
isn't she
yeah, yeah.
celiac? Yeah.
Dude, that's so sweet that you remembered that,
Of
man.
course I remember
That's
that, man.
fucking dude. I
Yeah.
appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, yeah. No, well, she's got that celiac where it's like if you have like a molecule of
Yeah, it
like,
completely destroys your
yeah,
intestines.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
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 awful. I mean, that runs in families, man,
yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, thing is, I'm saying I can handle gluten. Thing is, like, I almost don't. I'm like so not tuned in to like feeling good or bad. Like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I might just be feeling bad all day because of shit I eat and not making the connection. So I'm just like, I'm eating ice cream. Why even notice?
Yeah, it's like why am I exhausted and angry all the time? It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's like
Must be.
I'm eating a shit ton of dairy,
Yeah.
which
No.
also is like I've got a hard time with, man. I love dairy though, man. Soft cheese,
Oh, dude.
brie.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I go. Yeah. I
It's the
just,
shit, yeah.
I don't
It
care.
completely destroys me.
Yeah.
But
Hell yeah, man. I'm glad you're on the stream, dude. I was saying like, we could just bullshit, but then there's also I do want to kind of do an interview.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like just as a jumping off because it's just like, people want to know, I talk about my own music on this channel like just endlessly. So it's like the streams are about you.
They're about our conversation.
They're about our
It's
conversation.
it's about us
It is
and
about us, man. I appreciate
people
that.
having and the people involved in listening to this
Yeah,
bullshit.
yeah, yeah. Also, dorky question. I'm just gonna start asking the crowd for this. In the comments, let us know how the balance is between our relative voices, just mix wise. But yeah, aside
If you say that I'm louder, I'm going to call you racist.
from, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time. Um, whatever. It's cultural. It's not biological. Anyway, um, anyway, on that note, bye everyone. That's all we want to get out there. Brandon's loud, and I have a moderate view of it. What oh shit? Who's the virtual Jonathan? He says if he was Dominican, he'd be louder.
Oh,
That
that's
I'm
actually that's
Tulamoose.
kind of a fucking challenge. Actually,
I haven't parsed out. I haven't done
no,
the
I'm just
numbers on
kidding.
that. I'd
If
like
he
to
was
see data,
Dominican,
Jonathan. I'd like to see data on that. I'd like to see decibel. Can we see decibel readings on the sort of the like Taino splitting up?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Oh, I mean, I think the Dominican Republic had like a higher like prevalence of Arawak people.
is that true?
Yeah, Taino and Arawak. I mean, I don't. I'm a fucking. I play bass. What the fuck am I
Yeah,
talking
yeah, yeah.
about?
Hey, well, here's the fun thing about the lab.
I love Dominicans, man. Actually, so it's like I love all Caribbean people.
Right on. Hell yeah,
Very
man.
fun. It's
Hell yeah.
one. The archipelago is actually one writhing mass.
Sick.
So
Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't know if everyone knows this, but Brandon and I lived together for a few years in Hell House. We fucking
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I told you, right, that the reason, well, that place, some guy overdosed in the apartment, and then my friends got it for very cheap
Because of that.
because of that.
Yeah,
So
that's sick, man. Or no, it's not sick, but it's just ignorant. Just like
yeah,
cool, yeah,
yeah, dark.
well,
No,
the reason it is cool is because it does actually explain like some haunted elements. Uh,
definitely. I
in
mean,
that.
that place was a vortex of just insanity. I mean, it was really fun.
Oh yeah, we had a
We had a
blast.
lot of fun. Yeah.
Because I'd wake up to you playing Bach at like 7 in the morning. I'm like, I can't be mad, man. I can't be mad at Bach at 7. But it was like the because because in this I made a behind the music about simple answers. And I it's like an hour long thing. So I talk about the house and stuff. I don't talk about you in any particular. Well, I say you rule, I think, but whatever. Like but it's but yeah, I talk about the vortex, man. It's like, so the guy died, and then your friend who lived in my room before I moved in, what he became like a white nationalist or like some kind of psycho, became like
No,
a political extremist.
he moved out, and then he got this guy from Craigslist who moved in, who ended up being, that was like my first, the first time I had ever seen a MAGA hat. And this was like,
He wore the hat,
yeah, he had like the flat brim like MAGA hat.
the
And
flat
he
brim. So he was still kind of a wigger in that case with the flat
no,
brim.
no, absolutely not. He was like some fat
Flat
dude from New
brim.
Jersey. But I remember, like, I'm like, who the fuck is this? And like, what is this box? And I opened up the box and I saw this hat that said like MAGA. I didn't know what the fuck it was. You know what I mean?
You saw
At
him
that point.
order it. It came. It's all
Yeah.
new.
And I opened the box because I'm like, who is this motherfucker? Like, I don't even know who this person is. And then like he sat me down in the kitchen and like, it's like talking about a bunch of stuff, and his like, monologue ended with, and that's why in November I will cast my vote for Donald J. Trump. And I remember just being like, that's twisted. And
That's
he thought that was hilarious.
you, dude. You really went through it with your roommates, dude, myself included, man. That's
I,
fun. That's so 2015, like the original. Like he bought the
yeah,
original MAGA. Like he was just like
yeah, he
first
was,
pressing.
and it's funny because he was a Bernie bro. Like he went from
Oh
being
yeah,
like
tale
a
as old
Bernie
as
bro,
time, man. Tale as old as time.
immediate, but I mean, like, he was also, I mean, he was also just kind of like pathologically an edgelord.
Right.
So it's like how much he actually believes in the actual nationalist ideology is like, it's just,
I know. Yeah, no, it's
it
so
was
fucking
bizarre. Yeah,
yeah,
it's bizarre. I mean, that's just like, fucking, this thing is just going haywire. It's spinning out, and
yeah.
it's interesting to see, like,
But then yeah, you had that dude,
the casualties. Yeah.
and then I mean, I was sort of a catch. I mean, you remember, like I was getting on some shit. There was a little more drugs than
Every
politics, but
Yeah,
like,
but
but we did. But that house, man.
everyone was going nuts. It was like, it's like we lived in like this fucking, like, this insane austerity period from like 2010 to 20, I mean, till now. And like we watched like the music industry like fall apart. I mean, like, we were around to see an actual like industry. It may have been like the tail end of like a thing. But to be like, like professionalized in like a certain context, to be like a musician, and then to have it, to have like everything that you've learned just be like ripped up and destroyed, and then like, like being like, a 30-year-old inside of a fucking house with with three roommates or something like that in New York City. It's just like, I don't,
Yeah, yeah.
it's a fucking, you're in like a pressure cooker situation, you know what I mean? So everybody's
That was. I
fucking
mean,
nuts.
I rarely hung out in the house. I just lurked in my room and then left. But well, yeah, music industry, man, collapsing, because I'm like, thing is, like, I've never relied on music for my income. Like, that's never been. So it's like making more or less. Like, I've seen these ups and downs, in my career with making money or not, and it's like I don't. It hasn't actually really corresponded to like what's going on in the industry. I mean, maybe I don't know though. I when
I mean,
Extra Life first hit, I had some shit coming in, but I didn't. Are you saying the tens was the death of the music industry? Because people always make this kind of different lines. You know, they draw like these.
I would say that the 2000s, like whenever like Napster, like LimeWire, that was like really kind of the beginning of like the destruction of like, you know, like selling, you know, the capital around the thing, or it was like the beginning of
The
that.
actual
So
records and stuff. I mean,
yeah, and then I think there's probably less money like pumped into, you know, I mean, at least what I, you know, what I do, whatever, which is like jazz adjacent shit.
yeah, but
I
jazz
mean,
adjacent though, you've got like institutional money that comes in. I mean, you know, people actually fund that. Like, it's never. I mean, it's not like a market. Well, that's also a marketplace hustling in the grant
I
world and shit. But it's
well, I mean, it's not. I think that there was like I think you could sell like, you know, like 5, 10,000 records, and if you had a personal, you know, label, you're selling each one for like $25 or something. You know what I mean? Like you return like an actual profit from that.
yeah.
Like you could kind of exist outside of like, you know, the mainstream, and still like, you know, generate income from record sales, rather than like, you know, like begging institutions or trying to fit into some sort of mold for like these institutions to,
Mhm.
you know, throw some fucking, you know, crumbs at you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that the thing, I don't know, improvised music and jazz adjacent stuff. I mean, I've seen that like go up and down. It's never gone. It's always there's some fire. But like in New York, I've seen the kind of like whether it's hip or not or in style or not.
Yeah.
I don't know how much that amounts to money or not money. But I remember when I first became aware of when I first started like playing out in New York. Well, playing out aside from punk bands in high school and shit, I like late 90s, early 2000s was like it seemed like those guys were getting paid, like the William Parker realm, all the William Parker adjacent. Like that was very, I don't know, Knitting
I
Factory. It
wonder
was very like in
I, w-
cool, like
like having been like somewhat close to William Parker and that circle, I don't think any of them were making money at that point.
nah.
I don't think that they were particularly, but like people like Paul Motion or like Joe Lovano, like that kind of
Yeah,
crew of people.
that's
Um
yeah, that's a classic. That's like an older generation and stuff.
yeah, but I mean, like when they came up, there wasn't like some sort of like industry to like, you know, pay them, like, you know, like certain people, like, you know, they bought houses and cars and like financed like, you know, families, you know, playing jazz, and I just don't think that really exists in
Well,
the
yo,
way.
that's weird to me when you read like bios of like jazz musicians from like the 50s, 60s, even 70s, right? It's like it'll be like it's like he grew up poor and then learned how to play clarinet in his amazing public school music program. Then he joined the army band because that's a thing, and then came back and was playing, you know, supporting two kids, playing 5 days a week at some bar and also doing avant-garde shit like experimenting there and somehow that's cool and people are still paying him. Yeah, it's like what the fuck is that? Like what? It's like that's
I
not a
mean, it's
guy anymore. It's not
well,
a
I mean, like, dude, there's so many like weird factors. Like, I just watched this documentary called "Soundtrack to a Coup d'Etat," which
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been
high
hearing it's yeah.
highly suggest, because it's only documentary history. It's not like there's a narrative being spun by like Ken Burns, like, you know, like Joe's is you know, it's not like some sort of like talking head like telling you the history of the thing. It's actually just like, you know, like historical footage, translations, and documentary record,
Wait, tell
like
people
being.
about the movie. Wait, I forget though. It's Black
It's
Panther.
about no, it's about the, you know, the coup against Patrice Lumumba in the Congo,
Oh
because he
right.
wanted to nationalize like the vast amount of resources there. And I mean, it's just about how the Americans and the Belgians colluded in order to kill him, and they used like one of the main aspects of that this documentary kind of exposes is how jazz was used as like a mechanism of like imperial power, and
Oh
how they
right.
so
Okay,
they
so
sent
you were
they
talking about
sent Louis Armstrong to the Congo like 2 weeks after Patrice Lumumba was captured by the, you know, the supposed opposition, in order to kind of smooth things over.
you mean to kind of be like, look, American black people are cool with this. Is that
Or
the
I don't
Is
know if
that
it
the
was.
is
I
that
don't
the
know if
message?
that, no, I think it's more like he had so much star power that it was like a distraction
Okay,
to
yeah.
the, you know, the actual like fucked up things that were going on.
Right, right, right.
Um, really good documentary.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Really brutal.
They sent Louis Armstrong. Did they send any of like the avant-garde dudes or like
No, but there's definitely okay. So uh, this book is really interesting. Free Jazz Communism, because this is also like a documentary history on this. There was like a festival that was happening in Helsinki, and I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, and I might get some information wrong, but there's a festival that was happening that was kind of anti, US influence, or and kind of more pro leftism in Helsinki, and the CIA actually like funded and staged a counter festival like 5 blocks away, and like Archie Shepp was part of like the lefty version, and they sent like Jimmy Jufrey to the, you know what I mean? It's
Jimmy
like
Jufrey was fucking
he's a CIA fucking.
he's like, this track's called A White Supreme. We're
Well, I mean,
That's
it's like
rough, man.
a lot of these guys
Jimmy
didn't they didn't
Jufrey.
yeah, they didn't know that they were being, they
Right.
weren't necessarily, they don't know that they were being used in some sort of like counter,
That's
uh
out, man. And Jimmy Jufrey's so sick too. That makes me sad. He's
yeah,
so fucking deep.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean Louis Armstrong's deep as fuck, and like, and it's like,
Yes, indeed.
yeah, did you there's a really funny oh, shit, I think it's Johnny Carson. It's one of these like fucking like late night talk show uh situations, and Richard Pryor was on, and it's like he's asked about meeting Louis Armstrong for the first time, and the first thing that Louis Armstrong says to Richard Pryor is, "White folks still in the lead."
In the lead.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Which, I mean, like, anyway, what is
Yeah.
that?
By the
What
way,
is that?
did you know Patrice O'Neal's middle name was Lumumba? Like his name,
Well,
Patrice
he's named
Lumumba.
after Patrice. Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
He
Patrice,
laughs.
man.
He laughs about that too. He's just like, I don't want some goofy shit. Like he's just like,
I mean,
I think deep down he thought that was cool. Probably like he was
oh,
like
no, no, no
he
question.
had a fierce
Yeah.
political consciousness. I think beneath. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, he was able to like engage with, like, vast swaths of the spectrum, and like illuminate certain situations and make people laugh.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of deep. He was one of the best. Yeah,
One of the absolute greats.
one of the
I
best.
couldn't let a stream go by without bringing up Patrice. I would have brought up Patrice O'Neal anyway, but it like bringing
Yeah, he's
up Lumumba,
yeah.
Patrice Lumumba. But yeah, man. So fucking yeah, dude. Let's talk about the music of Brandon Lopez. Let's talk about the music. Yeah, actually, I don't know. See, you get embarrassed, man. Uh,
Oh, I mean, it's like, I think any like artist talk is kind of cringe for me, for
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
reason. It's like talking about like my process as if I own any of this shit. You know what I mean? It's like,
Well,
it's like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm a collection of a lot of different influences, like friends and shit like that, and then some sort of reflection of that through my, fucked up uh processor.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean,
But
ultimately, like, I do have to feel, like, think that way of like, yeah, we're just like a thing plugged into other things, and we're kind of this like joint event. But then
yeah.
there's other times I feel like I got to stake out some ego shit and be like, like I'm Charlie Looker, like, act like like there's this
I
sort of
mean,
like just it's like to territorialize, like as part of that being part of a process, like the acknowledgement of the deterritorialized thing of the more smooth vibe, and then going back to like, yo, it's Brandon Lopez, like check the record out or whatever.
yeah,
Uh,
man. I
but
mean,
yeah, cheers.
it's Brandon
I
fucking Lopez, man. That's
yeah,
like,
say things like that. But but like, what was I gonna say? Well, because the thing is, okay, like some people are listening, right? They're fans of yours. They're like, okay, like, we know Brandon, like we want to go deeper with Brandon. But then, we got people listening that don't know you, so we don't need to get into some like, like how did you first pick up the bass? Like we're not need to go there, but like, I mean, we're talking about, if I were like, someone was like, what's up with Brandon Lopez? I'd say contrabassist first, word, but I don't know if that's how you feel. You know what I mean? Like, are you like, I'm Brandon
I
Lopez, contrabassist, then dot dot dot, or is it like that? Not even the first. Like,
it doesn't even matter. You know, it doesn't even matter to me. I mean, I'm married to the fucking instrument, so of course, like that's what that's what um I'm not ashamed to be, like Brandon Lopez bassist, like double bassist. I think there's a lot of people who want like who see that as some sort of like lowly thing as opposed to like composer or whatever. I mean, I just don't see I personally don't see like any separation between those things. It's like the great improvisers, like great players are you know generally in my mind great composers.
mhm.
I don't really see a difference in those things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's totally, I thought that was maybe your vibe, but yeah, like,
Yeah.
that's totally what I'm asking, you know? I mean, composition also, it's like that has these, like, different connotations. It can be like,
Yeah.
you can be trying to elevate yourself in this way that's like, you're, like,
Yeah,
reaching
I
for a
don't
thing that's, like, needlessly, like, European, but then
I don't want that either. It's like
you know
I don't want to elevate myself to like some kind of like, some sort of like intellectual status. You know what I mean? Or
yeah,
some sort of status. It's like I play the double bass, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like I'm a
yeah.
worker, you know what I mean? It's
Well,
like and I'm fine with that.
that's
I think that's a
something that,
dignified position.
I
Yeah.
absolutely agree. I mean, thing is, I personally don't go, like, guitar player first. I get more on the, like, depending on who I'm talking to or, like, what email I'm writing, kind of, all the slashes and shit. But, being an instrumentalist with a style and a physical, just being able to just a cat who can play, that is kinda like that bottom line where I feel like, to me, that is in a way the ultimate legitimizing. I mean, not that you're not legit if you can't rip on an instrument, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, that thing, like you're saying, like, a person who can work an instrument, that often to me is like this ends up being a bottom line where I'm like, "This is the thing that you can't refute." Like, the composition, you can be like, "What is it?"
I don't know how this correlates. But I think there is something that actually there is a correlation. But I mean, it's like the stories about like Beethoven's friends saying like we'd rather listen to him improvise on piano than listen to his compositions.
Is that true?
Yeah,
Interesting.
uh,
Interesting.
like a lot of these
It's
composers
crazy.
were known for their improvisations or were like lauded for their improvisations more than like their writing.
Bro, can you imagine how deep that must have been then? If someone hears
Yeah,
straight
listen to fucking Art Tatum.
if
There's like
they
it's like the human beings make you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah. Man, yeah, yeah, like, if that could have been captured, fucking Beethoven on the yeah.
yeah,
But,
well that's why they wrote that shit down. It's like that's the only
yeah,
that's like, it's like that's the recording technology. It's like
yeah,
a piece of fucking paper and it's
yeah.
like it's not nearly as good as like sticking a microphone in front of something and actually, capturing the sound waves on that.
Well, I'll say this though, I mean, also though, like, I think notation though, like, that is an instrument, Like, I mean, a real composer,
Mm,
I mean? Like,
yeah,
because that's like,
no
so,
question. No
yeah,
question.
like, to an extent, play the notation the same way cats are playing Ableton or whatever, MIDI, like, it's all
Yeah, I just don't see like a hierarchy within those,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I mean, it's cool to see like, a lot of those higher because there was a hierarchy. There's literally, like I mean with BMI for example, like if you have a composition that's like an hour and 20 minutes long, it ends up like, um you end up like being able to act to get more money from like an institution because of like the length of the performance, but if there's any improvisation in that performance it's not considered uh you know
Really? By ASCAP?
ASCAP BMI. I think it's there's some sort of legal like framework around like
That's so right,
composition versus
right.
improvisation, which is like just based in some racist shit, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because I mean, even if you're just playing Bach, I mean, you're improvising dynamics, tempo. I mean, it's like
Yeah,
you're the whole time. If you move a violin bow, you're improvising from the entire like
I mean
whole journey of the.
it's just some shit to like to cut a certain part of the population out of it. And I mean like I don't like I think that entertainment laws like is antiquated. You know what I mean? It's like I don't think like most people would still harbor the same same like ideas or resentments towards like something like improvisation. But I mean, what am I saying?
Well, normal people don't like composition or improvisation. Most people like songs. You know what I mean? Like most people like beats. As
Yeah,
far as like,
yeah. I mean,
it's, I mean the words. I mean literally the terms. Like if you tell most people you're a composer, they're like, "Oh, la di fucking da," and if you're
yeah,
like, "I'm an
yeah,
improviser,"
sure.
they're like, "Yeah, la di
If
fucking da,"
yeah,
but
you
it's
do
black. You know,
fucking
it's like
oil
it's
painting,
the
yeah,
same thing, right?
fucking
It's just like,
it's
yeah.
like
So I don't know.
yeah, I mean,
But yeah, I don't know that intellectual property or whatever entertainment law though. You need that to get bread though. I mean, that does. I mean, it matters insofar as
yeah, it's funny that you can get cut out of like, I think it's a significant amount of bread. It's like thousands of dollars. Like you can get cut out of like this like pay, this pay this pay
pay grade or whatever. Or,
yeah, you get cut out of a certain amount of money because, you have improvisation in your piece.
yeah, that's out, man. I've never really thought about. Well, I've never really thought either way. Like an hour plus piece of music, how that gets up on ASCAP.
Apparently Feldman was writing those long pieces because he figured out that he could make a lot more money.
Get the fuck out of here. Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's not true,
It
dude.
wasn't yeah, yeah,
Psycho
yeah, yeah, yeah. It
That's
was like
anti-Semitic, dude. That's that's
no, man.
absolutely that is 100%. He's counting shekels for his 6-hour string quartet,
Did
really?
I'm not kidding. Like that was like
It's
that's
hilarious.
like some apocryphal shit that like later on he's like, "Oh shit, if I actually have like these longer compositions, I actually get paid more."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
You
it's
know.
okay if that's a factor. That's okay. We all live.
Totally, man. I mean, that's like, why the I mean, I would be doing the same shit, if
You
I
talk
figured, you know what I mean?
about yeah, that all the elements converge, you know?
Yeah. Also, I mean, it's an interesting challenge to write for fucking 4 hours. You know what I mean? Like that's
Well, yeah, I mean, that's yeah,
and
yeah.
if there's a cookie at the end of it, like why
Yeah,
not?
yeah. God, Feldman is so sick, dude.
I
It's
know.
it's super. I mean, that's probably I mean, we have so many overlapping loves
I'm
musically. That's
I
gotta be
mean,
a huge one, right? I mean, that's like it's
I love Feldman's late music not only as like a listener, but also just like ideologically how it's like this destabilization of like the entirety of like the European like process
well,
from like
that's
a New
yeah,
York Jew. It's like that's like
yeah,
the
yeah.
deepest shit.
Yeah, and like, yeah, just this crass, like, fat fuck, like, just real, just
Yeah,
I
petty bourgeois, like, from like poor Eastern European Jewish immigrants that like
yeah,
got in on like a
garment
coat business.
district. Yeah, that thing about the whole canon, man, I was like, I was talking about this with this stream with Jeremiah. We talk about Feldman in like every stream, but we did a thing on like talking about 3 of his pieces. Yeah, like that piece Coptic Light. He's like, yes, this is to me, this is like sums up the entire history of Western art music. And I'm like, how? I mean, it's like I know how, but also to listen to that and think that like that's what it all was. I'm like, what? I don't know. Like, you just have to be so
He's
brilliant
he,
and out to think that that's what, like, you know what
I
I'm
mean,
saying?
he was also he loved absurd statements. I mean, I was reading this like there's this like kind of multiple like interview thing in the New York Times, I think from like 1980 something, I think 84 to 88, something like that.
Yeah.
And Feldman's like talking, there's a part where where it's not Morton Subotnick, it's Warren and him are having this conversation, and Warren says something along the lines of, this is the first time in history that we've ever been exposed to this many influences. Like we were being battered by like uh these these influences that we're so innocently inoculated from, which is like fucking fucked up. And Feldman's statement
Oh,
afterwards was,
inoculated, like it's a disease, right?
I mean, just like also the idea that you're innocently inoculated from like influence is just kind of insane. It's like, I mean, exchange of ideas is constant between cultures. I mean, like there are homogenous cultures or something like that. But the Feldman's thing, what he says afterwards is, I always thought it was slumming it going into other cultures, right? That's like that's his
Well,
next statement. Feldman says that. I always found it
okay.
a type of slumming it, going into other cultures. But like his whole
Is he being
thing,
sarcastic
I mean,
or
who fucking knows? Because I mean, his whole thing, the whole like repetitive, like what he called crippled symmetry, was like based off of airbrush, which is like a Persian, a Persian technique in painting rugs. You know what I mean? And
right, yes,
the
yes.
coloration of rugs,
Yeah,
and
no,
it's like
he wasn't, yeah, he wasn't in like into a purity thing of the West, or whatever.
no,
Um,
and he specifically states like like he wanted to be like a type of virus in the system as like as like the Jewish other,
yeah,
and
yeah.
certain, I mean, but he just always he liked to just make absurd, fucked up statements. Was he racist? Definitely,
Well,
definitely.
yeah, I'm not trying to
It's
like
like no,
evaluate like some dude's thing from like 100 years ago,
yeah,
almost
I'm not gonna
170 years ago. He
I'm not
but
gonna
yeah,
absolve him of anything, but like I mean I love his fucking work,
yeah, I mean, he like on that topic of the word composer, it's like, or the idea of that or the sort of elevated idea. I mean, he had that quote. He was like, down with the masterpiece, up with art. But it's like there'd be some kind of like, I don't know. Some people have these conflicted or like not ironic, like they don't mean it, but it doesn't totally line up with their shit because like to me, his whole thing, he was like saying like, yeah, my music's not precious. It's not like this overly elevated, but like to me, it's like the most precious. It seems like the most careful. Like
yeah,
his things totally have a like masterpiece. Like I tried to make a masterpiece. Like it's not loose. It's not improvise, like I don't know. So when he's just like down with the masterpiece, I'm like, but is that really where you're at? I don't know. Like,
I mean, it's like, it's like anything. It's just filled with paradox,
yeah,
It's just that's just inherent in
yeah,
the shit. I mean,
yeah. There's a great
yeah, I mean, I like his like resistance to like tools, like the tools of like like what do I mean by that? I mean, I feel like there's like this German European obsession with like the machinery around like how music is supposed to be created, like the systems themselves, and he really worked outside of that.
he
When you
hates
think
it.
of
Yeah,
yeah, when you think of like serialism or sonata form or any of that.
yeah. Well, yeah. He
Like
said, what was the other one? He said, Stockhausen believes in Hegel. I believe in God. It's like, so, but I think Stockhausen probably ended up believing in God later after he was probably busting Stockhausen's chops during the more serial, hyper Germanic, his serial phase before he went new age. Um, but,
It's funny because I haven't listened to it. I haven't actually delved into Stockhausen like so much. I've
I
always
want
had
to,
an aversion.
I mean, some of it is so sick, man. He's just one of those guys like Miles or, I mean, Braxton taught this course that I didn't get to take, but at Wesleyan called Sun Ra, Miles Davis, and Stockhausen. And it's like just these cats with these massive bodies of work that have just like a million phases. And some of them, are like reaction against the other one, these like, dude, Stockhausen. I've been wanting to do like a music history thing on Stockhausen, but I would have to, the amount of homework I would have to do is, like,
Yeah, man. It's like it's like maybe it'll just come. I just feel like these things need to come in, come naturally to me, or else I just don't. It doesn't take. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like there's got to be like a phase where like something clicks, and then I'm just gonna obsessively go into
yeah.
Stockhausen. It hasn't happened. I'm not sure it ever will, but.
Well, there's stuff that like if you're already into certain other stuff, it's like you don't need it, or like it's not going to blow your mind as much as if like you heard it first when you're younger. Like a lot of his stuff sounds like some like free improvised. I don't, it sounds like or not free improvised like dense free jazz, but like his like piano music from the 50s where every single note is serialized, not just pitch, but rhythm and dynamics. So every single one is like complete, like it's the most erratic sounding atonality with like registers going all over the piano. It's fucking sick, but it's like, it sounds like that. I mean, it sounds like systems taken to like, like mad scientists unraveling, man. It's, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I mean, I gotta check it out.
Yeah, yeah, like, yeah, fucking yeah, he's kind of the anti-Feldman in a lot of ways. But, yo, should we check out some of your stuff, man? Are you into this? Are you down?
Sure,
Because
sure, man.
I do feel like we don't have to, like, sit and, like, for, like, 10 minutes and be like, "Yo, get ready for this part." Like, but, I mean, it'd be cool to give people some little, like,
Why
you
don't
know,
you
j
put on the newest like track by me and Fred? I guess that would be the
okay.
first one, which I think is number 14 is the first one.
Well, okay, so actually in that case though, in that case, before actually putting that up, let's actually talk a little bit about your recent, because you've had all these different projects, you have a lot of solo work, you had a lot of collaborative stuff with other people, and just resume, like out the wazoo, sideman work and stuff. But what about like talk about this like you've been doing a couple of projects with Fred Moten. Fred Moten, I'm a big fan of, or at least I went through a little phase where I was going deep on him. There's more of his stuff I want to follow up on for sure, obviously. But yeah, I did a little video about Moten if you guys want to check it out, like a tiny little thing about him. But yeah, tell him a little bit about who Fred Moten is, and
Um,
what your work with him is.
God, it's gonna be hard to sum up what I mean. Well, Fred is just like he's a brilliant like scholar, poet, you know.
Yeah, like philosopher slash poet. Would you is that
What would you say?
would you say like is philosopher slash poet, like theorist slash poet?
Man,
Like
I
is that work for Moten?
You know, I don't want to contextualize. You know what I mean? I don't want to contextualize him in like any way because I mean he's definitely one of the most consistently like brilliant people I've ever been allowed to just be around. And
Yeah,
I think like any of those like labels ends up kind of um you know reducing like how I think about him or how
yeah. Words
he's
though. He works in words. I mean, text.
he works in words. I
That's the
mean,
that's the medium.
yeah, he's been we've been playing like the last set that we played in Boston. There's a poem that he's been using where he's just been saying I have a way with words and I let them have their way with me. That's what he
Yeah,
and he does, man. I mean, I've never met somebody who like not only can he write and just like very beautiful and like and meaningful um shit, but he has this way of conveying meaning through like the way that he speaks that's uh it's like watching the best musicians, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like he's just able to he just has this he's got away with words, you know?
yeah. Him reading his own stuff is very sick. Yeah,
And just like him, like I mean, we taught up at we did like a little like lecture at Harvard. I mean, which is mostly just him talking, right? You know what I mean?
sure.
Uh, because like I don't have that type of insight into most things. You know what I mean?
Is he like 50s? He's about 60 or something, or is he?
He's in his 60s.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, but I mean, like just seeing him, formulate and being able to like contextualize like just like students questions and somehow reinterpret and reroute and just kind of craft these vehicles for like meaningful dialogue is it's like master teacher shit, master he I
yeah,
mean he's again he's like one of the and I'm lucky I've been around a lot of brilliant people in my life, but that he's so consistently profound.
yeah.
It's a thing. It's deep.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, the stuff I've read by him is mostly stuff about music. Uh, I mean, and of course there's political sides and then stuff that gets into like more just like theory, but his stuff writing about like Toscanini and Furtwängler and like Ornette Coleman and stuff about Mingus, like yeah, really unexpected angles on stuff. Like where he talks about like rhythm it, like the way he talks about different rhythmic feels and like Mingus and stuff. It was just like, yeah, I actually still have a little bit of trouble like grokking all the aspects of how he talks about time. But
So, I mean, like, what I think, just what, like one time Fred was talking about, like, like when he sees like students, and I mean, I hope he's okay with me saying this shit, but it's like he sees like his students like reading in class, and then like they look up like they got something, like they understood something, and he's like, that's the fucking problem, is that you're not. It's like you're supposed to like you're supposed to just feel the way that it reads,
mhm.
rather than having some sort of like concrete understanding of the situation. It's like it's more about like this constant openness of language to be reinterpreted, and just to be like um a vehicle for that constant,
Yeah,
uh I guess, what I mean, in his words, multiplicity of meanings.
yeah. Well, thought is a joy in itself, you know? I
Yeah.
often with philosophy stuff when people are like, "Well, dude, I mean, just like, why can't you just like explain it? You know, why did it take a 500 pages for this guy to write?" And I'm like, "Dude, obviously, like, you know, it's like that, like explain Deleuze, you know, two sentences, like write it in a tweet. It's like, I mean, it's a joke, you know, it's a meme, but it's like, dude, obviously you can't get something 100%. It
I mean,
like, I mean, if you
you
could,
never.
why would people write 500-page books?
But
Like, you
but
know?
also, it's just like, can you even get what I mean, can you really ever understand like have like that type of concrete understanding of something? It's like, how much does your interpretation of something change based on on like like the your feeling, like your the limitations of your knowledge, and like
Yeah.
how can that be reinterpreted, like it's like you listen to a record, you think about how you listen to a record as a kid, and then like you come back around to it, like 20 years later, and it's like a completely different, I feel like a completely different person every 5 years,
Yeah, yeah,
like just based off of the experiences, and like what I've been taking in, it's like, I don't know.
yeah,
There's a
yeah,
lot, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking. I'm not a
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
philosopher. I'm a fucking musician, so.
Yeah, well, you know who's not gonna call you on anything wrong? Me or anyone who watches this stream. So it's just it's like the sued hour over here. Um,
Yeah, I
but
gotta
yeah,
check the chat. Oh, there's comments, man.
that
Holy
thing of
shit.
looking up from the book with the aha look, like, yeah, I can see how that's kind of just like, okay, so you just gave up. You just gave up thinking because you thought you got it. Should we here, yeah, take a look at the comments and think a little bit while I play a little bit of the Fred Moten the so this is duo. Okay, yeah, this is you and duo. You and Fred Moten duo, because you also have stuff with you and Fred Moten and Gerald Cleaver,
Yeah.
which is also super sick, unsurprisingly, because he's very sick. Okay, so yeah, let's check out a little bit of this. This is called Number 14. This is from the new record called Revision with Fred Moten, Brandon Lopez duo.
Having problems. They're not hearing anything, Charlie.
Oh, you're not hearing anything? Are other people hearing anything?
I'm not hearing anything either. I thought that was just like a.
Oh, damn. All right. Well, we can edit this out. What can't hear. All right. Well, in that case,
Well, I mean, you could go check it out on Bandcamp if you just search for Revision.
too bad, too bad, too bad. All right, hold
Yeah,
on.
I'm sorry. I should have sent you some files.
Yeah, I don't know why that we have in the past totally listened to stuff on the stream. Okay, well we'll just edit that out. Anyway, thanks for everyone's patience with that. You just saw me bobbing my head.
I was like, I couldn't hear it. I'm like, oh, maybe that's supposed to be.
I should have just repeated what he was saying and just go dumpa and just like said,
Yeah, just like vocalize everything. Like,
yeah.
that's
Oh well, you should definitely check that out. Revision. What was it? Revisionism or revision?
yeah, it's just called Revision.
Revision.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fred Moten, Brandon Lopez.
Out on
Um,
time. It's not out yet. The pre-order's up, so you can get that in an LP format or CD format if you like CDs, or you can just download it digitally.
hell yeah, yeah. There's a lot. I hear a lot less brutally harsh noise in
Mm,
the work with Fred, but maybe possibly just because he's got to cut through or whatever. Like,
No, man. Well, I got to send you the set from from Boston, because they're like the live sets do get real harsh, and Fred's actually doing some like crazy vocal fry shit with the bass because his voice is so low. I got to send you this set from Boston. It kind of like, I remember playing and feeling so neurotically bad about it, which usually is like a signifier of like, if I feel neurotically like I didn't do well enough, I'm actually tapped in a way that's. So I wasn't sure what happened, and I finally got the recordings to listen to, and I was so fucking. It's like, it's like work that makes me feel happy that I actually, you know, which is rare, as someone who makes stuff. It's like, sometimes you listen to stuff, and most of the time I listen to stuff and I'm like, ugh, like that's
yeah.
like, oh man, like cringing, like hearing your voice or something like that. But every once in a while, you get kind of lightning in a bottle, and you're like, motherfucker,
Hmm.
not that I did it, but like it fucking worked.
It
The thing
happened.
fucking worked. Um, but yeah, that set in particular has I think has that quality. And I think it's super, and the harsh noise comes out. But I mean, this was also this record was recorded not long after my kid was born, so I think I was feeling pretty warm.
Yes.
This
Oh, this particular this record.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
it's a little, it's a little, it's definitely got like this element of,
Yeah, trying to handle the instrument like it's your child instead of like the enemy or whatever.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, like, my I don't know, it's just like fundamental, huge changes in like the way that, hormones, and the way that you actually kind of see things, and you know the joy of life is
Yeah.
it was on my mind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're like laughing at yourself. It's like,
Yeah, it was fucking
what do you like some kind of good dad? What are you gonna like?
uh
You're gonna raise some kind of
does that
sane
exist?
person?
Does that exist? Does like
Yes, it does.
good and father, like, actually, like, I feel
Yes,
like
it does, absolutely. It's just say it's not is just cope for people who, I mean, who are, like, mad at
no,
their
but
dad.
no. I mean, did you say it's just like Coke for people?
No, cope, it's
Oh,
cope.
cope.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I think fatherhood's is a complicated, like, is a complicated thing. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm sure, yeah, I don't know.
I'm trying as my hardest to be like, the best possible, like, person around my kid.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, you probably
Yeah,
are, man. If you're even
yeah.
attempting, if that's even a sentence that would come out of your mouth, you're probably like, several steps behind, like a lot of dads, just trying to like be what is good for your child. But like, I mean, music wise, yeah, I don't know. I mean, has it mellowed? I only was
Mm,
I only was saying it seems like I haven't saying that. Well, I think the thing is I haven't seen you play live in like quite some time. Or no, I saw you play like a year ago. Nah, that was pretty harsh. That was noisy. Yeah. No, that was
Yeah,
noisy. Yeah.
I'm still kind of
Yeah.
deep in that. I mean, I've been adding a lot more rhythmic shit. It's like,
Yes.
I want to have this dichotomy of like hard grooving, like syncopation, in like a loose and very, like, in like an organic, like, kind of like in an organic kind of way, and then also the harsher elements
Yeah.
of like sound. It's those things are those two worlds are very interesting to me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think people who play like music, well, let's just say improvised music, other, approaches like when people are playing, quote unquote non-rhythmic, I mean stuff that doesn't groove, it doesn't have metric time, and just noise sound stuff. No matter how arrhythmic it is, you can tell when cats have time. Like you can tell whether they're a person who can groove and has pocket, even if they're not playing, even if they're just playing a drone, man. I think you can tell for sure. What's that hissing sound? You hearing that? You hearing that hiss? I don't know what that is. Write in the comments if you're hearing that hissing sound. This is a very interactive technical problem show.
Yeah, I don't hear the hissing sound, but I've got these little things in.
Maybe it's all right. Yeah, write in the comments if you're hearing the hissing. Yeah, because yeah, like not to pigeonhole, but just to describe, like I think of your stuff. You're talking about being jazz adjacent, and like that's obviously the case. But you know, I know that you've made records. God damn it, what is this noise shit? Am I
I do not hear it.
Yeah, no, folks in the comments are hearing. Folks in the
Motherfucker.
comments are hearing this. Let me see if my my camera, my audio shit is working. Oh no. No, it's all good.
Wait, let me mute my mic.
Let's see. Are we hearing the hissing? Are we hearing the hissing? I'm not hearing the hissing anymore. We started talking about noise elements, and all of a sudden we've got like actual noise elements.
What about now? Do you hear the hissing?
There it is.
I'm sitting right next to my heater.
Oh, is it going off? Is it going hiss,
I wonder,
hiss?
man. Let me move.
It sounds electronic, but yeah, it could be just that. Could be just the headphones and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I was just kind of thinking like my just to keep broadcasting while we figure this out. I do like one of the things that it seems like you have a relationship to the quote unquote noise scene, as in harsh noise, you know, power electronics, that maybe not a lot of people who play an acoustic instrument have, you know what I'm saying? Like you've put out records on like just noise labels that
just
like,
noise,
you know,
yeah.
that aren't jazz adjacent. I know these categories are like whatever, but I mean,
no, I mean there's definitely some separation, but that is arbitrary. But
yeah, like socially, there often is, you know, like there are harsh noise heads who like don't really fuck with Albert Eiler. You know, there are plenty of Vision Fest cats who like would not be into like
they don't like electronics. I mean, I've literally played. I've literally played gigs like where people are like, like they're buying, it's like kind of older dudes who are buying CDs, the CD guys.
The CD guys.
The CD guys. I mean,
jazz and metal both have CD guys. I like that.
CD is I'm gonna just say CD is a better audio situation.
I fuck with CDs. Yeah.
It sounds better. You get the same.
Vinyl, though.
Yeah, me too. But I'm not gonna say that vinyl has better fidelity. I like the sound of vinyl. I actually prefer the sound of an LP.
It's not fidelity. Yeah, fidelity is not. Yeah,
it's a vibe. It's like a fucking tube amp versus playing playing through a laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, totally. Like I want to hear the amp about to explode. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The gain and shit. Oh wait, but you were saying but you were saying about the CD guys, and we were talking about electronics and whatnot.
Oh man, yeah, they'll like go through CDs and they're like, this one doesn't have electronics on it, right? I don't like electronics. Just like fucking like what, dude? Like you're not open to this shit. Whatever. I guess like a lot of the noise stuff. I mean, there's a lot more like working class people in noise, and it's like in metal, it's like I like metal too. I like hanging out with metal people. Like it's just
yes, it's a blue collar. Well, more of one.
Yeah, they're actually allowed in. You know what I mean? It's like, and I mean, I think that's part of why I like noise so much. Also, I don't know, man. I mean, like I was a guitar player first, and some of my, one of my biggest influences was Hendrix, and I mean that shit is some of the noisiest.
True.
Shit. I mean, blaring amplifier, like feedback, playing with like amplified frequencies. I think that's part of what makes that shit so so cool for me.
Yeah. Well, the gear sounds like it's in danger. It's like actually like it's like actually you're like doing damage to the actual materials, to the actual technology. I don't know, the thing is like the noise scene, there is this certain I don't want to say nihilism necessarily in a like a philosophical context, so there is kind of that, but like with noise, like I don't know, we were talking about when we were living together, we were talking about like the void a lot, how like we're just talking about like music, but not even necessarily like some psychological thing, but just more like just aesthetically, music, whether it not that music has to contain it, but that like certain music has like the void in it.
I
Like there's some empty space, like something, and it's like I feel like noise has that, and like your music has a certain overlap that like not all not all noisy improvised music has that. I don't know
I
what it is. The void.
I think there's like an organicity, an organicity to like, like aporia that I
What is
you know,
aporia? Is that holes?
it's like confusion and irrationality,
Okay. Yeah.
like that kind of thing. I think I'm using that term right.
Yeah. I
Fucking
wasn't
idiot.
calling you. I actually don't. I don't actually know exactly
Can
what I'm
someone in the chats like look
someone in
up the
the chat.
definition? Like
Yeah,
just
look up
make me look like
aporia.
a fucking idiot.
Yeah. We both just took a notch. We both just took a step down. It's just like it's just yeah, Jessica says, "Yep, good." Yeah. Thank you, darling. Um,
Man, I mean,
but
yeah, I think like that kind of like that play with like these like supposedly like irrational structures. It's like that kind of shit, just for whatever reason, gives me it it makes me feel, like in a big way,
yeah.
like that type of I guess that's what I meant by like, you know, I meant by that. But who fucking knows?
Yeah.
It's also just like I like darker things,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
darker.
Yeah. No, but like like aporia, like confusion. Yeah. Yeah. There's a certain like I don't
Yeah,
know,
and
like
this play with like that type of like confusion, it's like there's this constant like imposition of like these like structures on things, and like I don't know, my favorite shit has like this like it's not a lack of structure, but it's more of like an organic structure. It's like the thing is like allowed to kind of like set the rules for itself, rather than like
yeah.
like it's like what we were talking about before, like for me it's like the Feldman's kind of resistance to like the like systematized like European serialism,
Well, he's
or
got the void big time, man. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, he's playing with like kind of an irrational element
Yeah.
on paper.
This I don't what when we were talking about the void, I also was just feeling there's a certain just negativity that like but it doesn't have to be negative in the sense of like I don't know, anger, like like negative, like bad, or like but just a certain negating, like music that's like on the brink of like destroying itself, or music that's on the brink of like this doesn't actually need to exist, like this could just be destroyed, or like like a certain like this negative like I don't know, man. I mean, are you into like no at all? It's
I
like
mean, I love Nono, but I feel like
yeah.
Nono is actually really fucking positive, man. Like he is
Well, he
his
had
whole like
utopian. I think he had utopian visions of like his
yeah, I mean,
intentions, but
he was like a I guess he's from Bologna, right? So and he was like a communist.
he
I
was,
mean,
yeah.
like my um yeah, I mean, Nono's fucking like I love
Oh
Nono, and I
man. Oh
love
yeah. No, he rules. I mean, that's like I don't your music doesn't sound like No, but I don't know something about like some of the stuff, even when it's
uh,
not quiet, even when it's louder. I don't know. I hear this certain like this like negation. Well, because like also like that leftist aesthetic type, like Adorno-ish type, like early 20th century, mid 20th century, like a lot of that shit. It has this like I don't know, this idea of the negative that I'm not gonna pretend I'm like way up on like, like these concepts, but like really, really explaining them. But I don't know, this certain thing where it's like the negative is not uh it's not there's a little like this it's morally good. It's not bad. It's not like evil. We're talking about a certain like the negation of the negation, and things like moving things forward in some way that has to do with like some kind of
yeah.
voiding of stuff, or like
Yeah, man, I wish I had like a nuanced like, like take on like, like the difference between like, like romanticism and like, like the Adorno's like leftist. I just don't. I have got a very superficial knowledge of Adorno and
well,
that
I'm
shit.
I'm definitely talking about stuff that's not and non-romantic current in
Well, that's the thing, man. I love romantic music, and I feel like that's actually like a big, like I feel like that's actually a big part of like what I do in like some sort of fucked up way. I don't know what the fuck.
Well, that's a
Anyway,
human element. Definitely romanticism is a human element. But
also
like
just like this bloated, like kind of like Baroque, like I don't know, like feeling big, big feelings. I
I
like
guess
that
I don't know,
shit.
the Baroque is a lot more lean than like you say romantic. I'm thinking 19th century,
You
like
think? I mean, I think like like the Rococo, for example, is like like this, it's like exorbitant. The aesthetic is like, like huge. It is like, and gaudy. It was like some sort of like, counter to
Rococo music. I don't know that. I mean, that's sort of that isn't that kind of reaction to Baroque in a way. I mean, or is that
it's part of the Baroque. I mean, like uh I guess the like Baroque is like is associated with like this kind of like gaudiness, this kind of like, like superficial complexity.
well the ornateness of it? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But I mean, like, I don't fucking
yeah,
know,
yeah,
man.
yeah. Yeah. I did. Yeah, I mean,
I don't read that much.
I didn't mean to. Oh, I didn't mean to overly seize. I mean, it sounds like seize on words that like something that one person
I'm,
said, and I'm like, yeah, I like that.
I'm also just
Just that
being fucking
we
contrarian because I'm a piece of shit. So it's like,
that's not the case. Well,
yeah, I mean, I,
we both are often contrarian, but in this case, though, I think we were talking about we were agreeing on some void shit. There's something. There's like a punk element. There's some kind of
you,
emptiness. Like I don't know. Like it's spiritual, but it's like
it's
maybe
horrifying at the same
there's
time. Like that's like,
there's like I don't know, like well like with Jewish mysticism, there's this thing of like Ein Sof or whatever, where it's like this like the most rarefied substance. It's like but it's nothing, it's like infinity, but the like idea is that it's void. It's like it's like a substance that's so rarefied that it's like the infinite, nothing without end. Um kind of thing. There's like I know Jewish mysticism has that in it, this negative. People don't like that. But yeah.
I think that's kind of cool. I mean, I
I
think, I was listening to that last Portal record.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think,
dude, fucking, I'm rapping, yeah.
oh yeah,
Oh,
man.
did you not even see the Portal t-shirt? Oh, that's sick, dude.
No, yeah.
That's sick. I did not actually check out the last Portal. I actually don't. Is it different than the others?
On
I don't know how
I mean, yes, but it's like, it's not
yeah,
sick,
it's
it's
right, right.
great.
No, it's within
But
their range is not huge, but yeah.
yeah, but like whenever, I don't know, whenever they get into like those really intense like grooves, like those breakdowns, like that shit is just like it just fills me with this like, you know, uh
Portal is fucking actually horrifying music. Still.
I w-
Still.
I want to find some way for the music to have that kind of like horrifying quality that like shocks you into like, that shocks you into being like fuck you,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
like it's like I don't know. I don't know how to, like some kind of like I don't know, it's like my favorite art is horrifying in a certain in a certain way, whether it be like through like the sheer like like technical ability, or the subject matter, or like or just like the sound, or the feel of it. It's like I there's a part of me that just loves um like this exposing of like these darker aspects, and like
Oh,
an
yeah.
acceptance of that,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like a forced dealing with those aspects of things,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, rest in peace, David Lynch, man. I mean, yeah, it's like just yeah, horror is such a deep. I mean, just dealing with the outside, Yeah, I mean, the thing I love about Portal and certain music is like metal. There's so much of the supposed horror of metal is like oh, the guys are Nazis or like they killed somebody. There's like these mythologies about the people. But the shit I love about
Burzum, like
Portal is it's just the music is horrifying. Like it's just art, you know, it's like not about some kind of like mythologized. I mean, to actually be able to be horrifying sonically, it's not that easy to do that. As
No.
desensitized, because we've all heard harsh noise, and we've all heard harsh noise that's not even that deep. So we've heard music that's technically brutal, but like isn't even feeling brutal. So to be able to get up there with just like, yeah, like just make sound and have it actually feel like outer the outside, you know, it's like,
Yeah, I mean, shock people into like having an experience, like a meaningful experience, and I feel like that those like that type of like horror is
yeah,
uh is like very appealing to me. You know, it's like Michael. I love Michael Haneke. Like those movies are fucking horrifying.
yeah. Haneke's super deep, super fucking
Yeah.
deep. Yeah, your boy, the virtual Jonathan in the chat is asking, well, like, would that include Sotos? I don't know. Are you a Peter Sotos fan? I'm actually not, but
I don't know. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know the work. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, he's just, like, wrote a lot of stuff about, like, pedophilia, you know, it's just work about, like, you know, it's like transgressive art from the, you know, like, I guess '80s, early '80s, you know, it's like
Okay,
he's like he's like
I gotta
he's
check it out.
like associated with, like, the noise scene and stuff. Like, I haven't checked his stuff out that much, but I kind of don't. Yeah, I kind of, to me, transgressive art and horror are, like, not necessarily the same thing, you know, because to me, someone just writing some story about raping a child, right? It's like that's a horrifying subject matter, but like it isn't necessarily like artistically, like the Peter Sotos I've read like isn't artistically horrifying to me. Like I find Portal way more horrifying literally without knowing the lyrics than
Yeah.
some so-called transgressive art, you know. I mean, I like Burroughs, but not because it's horrifying subject matter, you know. I mean, I think literally, yeah. Sorry, Jonathan, to just go too hard, like trashing Sotos. I'm not trashing, but I
I
just,
mean, I just wish I had something to say. I wish I
yeah, yeah.
actually, I
I
just
just
don't know.
personally, I find like literally just how David Lynch on a mainstream TV show, just Twin Peaks. I find Twin Peaks like more horrifying than like, you
See, man,
know, like some
I,
guy being like child rape kicks ass, you know. But yeah, it's like
I
that's
mean,
not
yeah,
it's not shocking. That's just some shit I would say when I'm drunk. Like it's just bullshit. It's not like real.
I, I mean, it's funny because I'm not the biggest David Lynch fan, and I think it's
You're not. Yo, I was fucking projecting like Lynch himself on a
no, I'm not a like a big, I'm not like a big fan of well, I don't know. I don't want to say that. I just maybe need to delve into it a lot more, but I just I haven't really ever been like that particularly moved by his movies, like as opposed to like someone who like plays with like similar kind of horrific elements like Fassbender or Lucrezia Martel. I think is like like just brilliant at that kind of um weird mystical reality shit. I just find I find like I just don't know why I don't know why I don't
yeah,
connect
yeah,
so much with Lynch. I
yeah.
just don't know what it is.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, as much as he's one of my like shortlist heroes, I wouldn't say if you checked his stuff out and it's not grabbing the hell out of you, I don't think it would necessarily. I don't think repeat it. You know, I don't think it's like, dude, you don't get it yet. Like I think you get it, but it's just not getting you. You know, like
Yeah,
I
it's
think
just like personal aesthetic,
yeah,
like think leanings, you know what I mean? But I mean that could change. I think
yeah.
I just need to check it out a little bit more.
But so much of his stuff, like, I mean, it is not superficial in a negative sense, but it's like the surface of it is seductive. If you're not seduced by the surface, it's like kind of not like you're not into it, you know. But I mean, I like to me horror, man, shit that's horrifying. And the Portal is not horrifying in this way, but like Feldman is horrifying to me in this way. Is like shit that deals with time, man. I mean, Lynch to me, it's not about the violence, it's about time, like experiences of time that are disruptive, not linear. You
Yeah,
know, like Feldman to me, there's a horror to that for sure.
what like one aspect, this is tangential, but it's still on the topic of horror. Like one of the things that I really like about or that I find like horrifying and beautiful at the same time is like extreme technical ability.
Do you
Like in
I
extreme.
love that you find that horrifying. I wanna hear more now.
Well, it's just like, when you hear, like, I'll think about like when you heard like Art Tatum for the first time, or like when you hear like, as a musician, you hear somebody like that, or like just someone who's so technically, and I mean, this isn't, by any means like some sort of, like there's plenty of technical players that I fucking listen to and I'm like, this fucking sucks. But there's certain players that you listen to and you're like, how is that humanly possible?
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. Like, that's not only is it like beautiful and like, and like, other world, it has this otherworldly, like, embodied quality to it. It also is just like this like supreme achievement of like, this freakish human, ability. Like I love that type, like that stuff horrifies me. And it's like I wish that I could actually convey the same type of horror, like
Right.
through this, like if I could possibly just be like, how, like have people be like, how the fuck is this possible? Like, fuck
Yeah.
me. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
that kind of like the just kind of, that aspect of art is really
Yeah. It's
fun to
funny
me.
because I see, knowing about music, I mean, being a musician, I can listen to your music and clearly tell how chopped out it is. I'm not sure if you're not a musician, if you can tell. I mean, you know what I mean? If you could be
Oh,
like, "Oh, like the labor," like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have the nerd
well,
technical
I
factor,
I
you know?
wanna I wanna have both of those elements where it can just be like seen as like, like what is this?
Right.
Is this even music, or is this, but or to like, people in the know, maybe they, I think I think in terms of like, uh bass technique, it's like I do have like a certain type of control of it,
Oh, dude, you
in a
have
s
chops deep in the, I mean, like, not to be, like, on your nuts, whatever, but, like
Yeah,
I mean, no, you j like, the shedding
I'm just not
jazz
into,
tradition.
I'm I'm not into showing like like that being like the major element of
Right,
it, you know
right.
what I mean? It's like that's not like, that's not what I'm interested in.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't want it to seem like, like smart or technical. It's
Right,
like
right,
I
right. But the freak show, but you do find horror in certain technicians, like, the freakishness of it, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, just to think like, about like somebody like, like, Cecil Taylor, or
Right, right.
Art Tatum. It's like this unstoppable, brilliance. It's this like, it's too much. You can't deny that it's like a significant human achievement,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's one of the things I love about jazz is that the vibe of practicing is that I feel like the jazz, like, the culture of, like, shedding, like, practice as this thing of, like, changing what you are, you know? It's like, I think that's got a horrifying freak show quality to it, like, kinda like what you're saying, like, when you see, like, it's not just labor, but, like, labor of changing
Your
body
body,
your
your
body,
physical body.
your neurological, right? It's like cybernetic with the instrument, but, like, you did it completely yourself, or, whatever. We can talk about the systems, plugin systems, but, like,
Yeah.
just that labor, of, like, where it's not like, "Oh, I practiced real." This is what's sick about jazz culture, improvised music culture also, is that it's not like, "Oh, I practiced so hard so that I can play certain pieces." It's not like, "Oh, I'm working on this piece." It's like, I'm working on language. I'm working on my own language that involves, maybe you play scales and patterns, but also developing, you're just working on who you are. So then you go into situations and you're like, "I'm a cyborg of my own making," you know?
I mean,
I
yeah,
can see the horror.
that shit it's like probably one of my favorite parts about playing like in improvised music or being in a jazz context, is that there is this, I mean, maybe not so much in jazz anymore because it's become so codified, but um And even in improvised music, you start seeing this type of like codification, like, like this is how improvisation is supposed to sound. It's like I'm a non-idiomatic player. It's like that kind of shit for me is like so obviously like defeats like the point of
Oh, the non-idiomatic thing as a total idiom,
it's an
right?
idiom.
Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
such an
like that whole thing is like, not to say that there aren't great players that do that kind of thing. It's just kind of funny to me. But like this idea of like we're like getting this building this knowledge from a wealth of influences and spending so much time like refining, or I don't even want to say refining. I mean, like, but like building this like kind of this for lack of a better term, like language.
yeah.
um and also building this ability to communicate with other people who come from maybe very different backgrounds, and then come together to compose like these like the best the best like improvisers like have this ability to just like work their this like unique concept in with other concepts and create like like a an engaging or participate in a very engaging like in complex form. um and I mean, like, I find that kind of like, that kind of development, this kind of individual development, and in the as insofar as how like how far can you actually be an individual, right? It's like whatever. But also it's like it's in purpose of coming together with other people who
Right,
have like
right,
their
right.
own, and it's like in order to like actually create, you need to be of like a certain standard. I feel like that idea, like there's a standard that is actually being like lowered, and that's like like a product of like of schools, like jazz schools now. I don't know. It feels kind of sometimes it feels like I'm in a Montessori school for adults or something.
Right, right, right.
Um,
Just a bunch of pats on the
um,
head for like
ye-
low stakes,
uh,
phoned in, improviser shit.
yeah, and like people just not really putting in the work, and
Yeah.
like like actually, and also it's I think part of it is like that live music is like so it's so not a part of our culture anymore, that a lot of people don't recognize that, like like or don't realize that there's like they're not around to see like that type of like deep like embodiment that comes from like these great does that
Yeah.
make any sense?
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, big time, man, yeah. I mean,
And
I like that jazz shit, man. It like the thing of like you're really talking or part one of the things you're talking is like this thing of where like the individual building, like the relation of like individual building, but then going into like less ego based situations, right? Where
but
you're
but
like when you
also but also an ego space. There's like a room
right,
for all of it. It's
right,
like
right. That's
it's
yeah,
not utopian. It's like literally just like this anarcho syndicalist kind of thing. It's like you need to fucking deal with each other.
right.
There can be like disagreements. There can be cockfights within those things, but it's all in this like like um it's like you're everyone's trying to make this like supreme aesthetic experience.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
like that to me is like the shit,
No, no,
and
it's like you have to have done all this like ego-based work or self work to go into a situation where you can put ego aside enough to actually like consolidate some kind of thing with other people.
or throw ego into a situation when like to be like fuck you, you know what I mean, like that there's elements for that kind of shit. It's like I don't know, it's like a
Kicking someone's ass on the bandstand. That's
yeah, or getting your ass
that's
kicked back, you know what I mean. I love that
yeah.
shit, man. Like I love you, and I love fuck you, you know what I mean, like, and how those things can be
Well, people
very
need to hear
much.
both. Some people need to hear both for sure. I
I think
mean,
fuck you could be a better I love you than I love you sometimes, you know what I mean. It's like that's
I've said this a bunch that I do think that there, the Montessori school spirit in a lot of and not just improvised music, but experimental music in general, just there is a certain negativity, like a quality control, fuck you element that seems to be lost. I don't know, man. I know in the 50s dudes at Darmstadt would be throwing chairs at each other based on actual aesthetic concerns. Nowadays, no one easy. People are too polite to even not say nice set.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like,
There's not a lot of criticism, and
like
it's weird that there's not a lot of. I just feel like there's like there's also maybe a lack of self criticism,
yeah,
which I mean, like, I don't know, it's to the detriment of society, you know.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
No, that's what I mean. One of the things, like coming up with playing with Z's as being, my first, band that actually like did a tour, like put out records on labels. Man, that shit was not yes men gassing each other up. Man, people were. It was like, yo, your piece is not. I'm not playing that shit. It's not up to par, man. It would just be like
yeah.
straight ball breaking. It's
I think a fundamental part of my education was just having, these older musicians just be like, your shit isn't shit.
yeah, yeah.
You are not shit. Like,
No,
you need to
being
work on
able
this
to hang.
shit.
Being able to
Yeah,
hang, man. Being able
being able to
to
hang, and then also like, being able to deal with like, like harsh criticism,
yeah.
and be able to say like, fuck you, I'm gonna work on this even if you don't like it, or like maybe you're right.
Right, yeah, like,
Like,
if you don't believe in something enough to, like, being able to be able to, withstand someone telling you it sucks, I mean, it's like, if you really believe in it, you will
yeah.
be able to defend that or be able to not give a shit, Uh,
Yeah, I think there's a lot of positive aspects to positive reinforcement, but there's also again, these things are filled with
yeah.
paradox.
Some
You
heads
know?
I can think of some heads that didn't go in the locker and they should have been people in the scene that should have been weeded out a long time ago. Anyway, but I wanted let me let me shift like you know what I kind of want to shift gears to though is talking about because we talked about these voided elements in your stuff. We talked about noisy elements. We talked about the sort of the work with Fred Moten and stuff. I want to get a little bit into this your relationship with like Latin music, Puerto Rican music and stuff because you've been like getting on, I know you've always like had a connection to that just personally, culturally, but when we were living together, you weren't as much like
Well, so
studying and you're studying percussion now and you were hipping me to some like more like avant-garde strains in like Latin music and shit that I was not familiar with when we were in the car.
Well, man, I mean, so I grew up, and like my mother's side of the family, they're generations of professional musicians, and like professional musicians in the sense like my great great uncle who I fucking watched die in his living room.
Oof.
He was known as the best, accompanist in Puerto Rico. He was on all these iconic recordings. I mean, like shit that like I didn't even like that I was listening to as like an adult and being like, this is some badass shit, not knowing that my uncle was on these recordings, right?
That's
Yeah,
cool. What
it's deep.
instrument did he play? What
Guitar. He's
oh,
a
it's on
guitarist. He was
around.
known as the best guitarist in Puerto Rico.
Sick.
Yeah, and he worked from extensively, I think, from the 20s to the 60s. Um, and then my great uncle Hector, he had a band Típica Novel. He was on Orchestra Broadway, which was on Fania Records. He was a fucking badass timbale player and arranger. A lot of the Fania guys actually quote him as like an influence. Um, and my his daughter was a pop star. She was like in Expose. She was like in
Oh, Expose, you told me
the
this, I
point
forgot.
the point of no return, that song.
And
Like
take
she's on
me to the point of no
no return.
return.
Yeah, exactly. That's my cousin Sandy.
That
Yeah.
Latin freestyle stuff, is like that has a real,
That's
because
New
I don't
York shit.
I
That's
don't
some real
that's
New York shit.
yeah, that's the thing. I have basically no relationship with Latin music at all, but freestyle, I forget that that's like, "Oh, yeah, that's Puerto Rico." I just think of it as New York, just like
No,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
I mean, like,
It's large that's mostly Latino, right? Is it freestyle?
I don't know. I can't. I'm not gonna
Maybe
claim to
not.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know,
I
yeah.
don't. I
Doesn't
don't
matter, yeah,
know, man. Yeah, I don't fucking know.
yeah.
Um,
But anyway, yeah, yeah.
maybe. Look. Sorry, I'm not answering.
Oh, you don't have to answer all everyone's.
I mean, like, I just can't see the chat because I'm on my fucking phone because I'm
Oh, okay,
But
right, right, right.
so I'm checking and I wish I could answer these questions. Anyway, what were we talking about?
So I interrupted. You're talking about a freestyle, how your, like, cousin was in Expose and you
My
come over.
cousin was in an expose, cousin Sandy.
Yeah.
And anyway, so there's like these just I grew up like, with this thing like, oh, your family's a bunch of great musicians, and I was always like, fuck, whatever, I don't give a shit. Um, and I started playing guitar like late and was like more influenced by like rock music. Though I mean I listened, it's like primarily in the house we listen to Latin music, it's like my what would be like Led Zeppelin or like Bob Dylan for certain, like, like white people would be, or Bruce Springsteen or something like that is like, like,
Yeah.
it's like, uh, Grand Combo or like, like Hector Lavoe, like that's what was in my house. Um, and I think that there was like, I had a kind of just kind of, growing up in like a white working class and neighborhood, it's like there was like a certain like, like my friends were into rock music, so I got into rock music.
Yeah.
But I grew up listening to, you know, like I didn't know what the fuck rock music like was until later. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't
Okay.
played in my house at all. It was like it was always salsa, it was always Latin music.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally.
And like so, like pop music too. It's like my parents are, grew up in Jersey, and a lot of like the newer garage shit was like also like being played at like family parties by like,
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you're, like, talking high school, you were playing guitar, like, playing rock, like, classic rock or, like,
Yeah, just
not
like that's how
even
you get classic rock. I had an aunt who she took me to my first show, which was to see Ray Barretto. That was my first show. Was Ray
Okay.
Barretto's like jazz shit at the Blue Note. Pretty, like kind of corny, but those motherfuckers can play their asses off. And he
Nah, of
was,
course, man.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um. So I mean, I guess getting older, it's like I feel like those elements, like the element of like the kind of repetition of the montuno was always like somehow embedded in what I how I think about music. I always think of in these ostinatos. Like I love grooves, I love these
Yeah.
static grooves. Um, like that's I think that's fundamental to the way that I think about time. I mean, self-analysis is fucking, it's difficult because who fucking knows? But I do in a certain sense feel like that was actually fundamental, to the way that I heard, rhythm. Um, and as I get older, it's like I just kind of like look back and I just think about like, just being around my family and the music that they listen to, and I just wanted to, delve back into that.
Yeah, yeah,
And
I mean,
I
yeah.
so
Yeah, because you went so deep on jazz, though. I mean, as far as just, like, what you were studying, like, you went to college to study, I mean, or, like, you went to music school, right? You went to
yeah, yeah. I mean,
conservatory or whatever, so
I quickly transitioned from playing rock music to like, being into jazz as a
yeah,
kid. Hearing like, Mingus and seeing Ray Barretto, like that. I just remember seeing that and being like, holy shit, I didn't know that people could play the instruments as well.
yeah, yeah,
This is insane. Like I wanna be able to participate in this. Um, I always liked guitar solos. I thought that shit was fucking great.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but Yeah, and I mean, I think like there are some like like Afro Caribbean or Afro Cuban and Afro Puerto Rican and Puerto Rican elements that are embedded into like like jazz. Like you think of someone like Elvin Jones. I don't think that type of swing would exist without like this influx of like Afro Caribbean, particularly Afro Cuban and Afro Puerto Rican, and I mean Afro Caribbean really, like in
yeah.
like this like mass migration of those people into New York City,
Right, is that kinda
you
like
know,
the '50s? That is that sort of when the Afro-Cuban
40s,
thing kinda
50s,
becomes, yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah,
Because I only
40s.
really, yeah, I only really know that from just the records. I mean, just the, just these, like collaborations, right, with the great jazz musicians playing with various, yeah, like Latin musicians and stuff.
Yeah, I
Because
mean, like Dizzy Gillespie and Chano Pozo, like
yeah,
those
yeah,
were,
right, right. That's largely what I'm thinking of. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But don't, boom. Yeah. But
yeah,
then, that's like, like the
and
most well known. But
yeah, and it's like like San Juan Hill was populated by like not only by like Afro American people, but tons of Afro Caribbean people and tons of Puerto Ricans and tons of
yeah.
Cubans. So there's this place, this like slum where this huge mix of like all this shit. It's
Hell
like
yeah.
to think. I mean, also like it's anyway. What the fuck was I saying? I mean, like I just wanted to develop like that aspect of my playing, and somehow just like try to understand that. I mean, the same way that I wanted to understand Bach, the same way that I wanted to understand like um Monk or Charlie Parker or Jimi Hendrix, it's like you enter that. Yeah, I wanted to enter that realm, and I wanted
Yeah.
to enter that world in order to get some understanding of it, and then find some way to
Yeah.
integrate that into what I'm doing
Well, because
in
you
a way
like, yeah.
that's not like like yanking or
Well,
that's
yeah.
like
I mean, this is what because like, yeah, you're talking about how there's this sort of like threat, is like the way you feel like time and this influence from checking out Latin music as a kid, like being running throughout. Um, but then recently though, you've been like studying, was it timbales or what? Because you've been like
No,
studying
I'm
master.
studying Roomba. I studied Roomba with this master percussionist named Manle Lopez. He's from Cuba. He lives in Mexico City now, but his family created like the contemporary style of Roomba called the Guarapachangueo, which kind of liberated certain aspects of the percussion. Um, and he's a master bata, like freak of nature bata player, and
But
like folkloric.
what is bata? What's the hip?
Bata is like an instrument, or it's a grouping of drums drums from the Yoruban tradition that ended up in Cuba, and it's a religious it's used in religious ceremonies, or and you know it came to Cuba and developed into its own thing.
Right on,
Um,
right on. And then Roomba is like that, that's like a
that's
genre of that's a genre, right? Or a like a rhythmic.
Roomba is it's a tradition of slaves and working people. It's like this mix of all the myriad of people who came over from West Africa, and then all the myriad of people who came over from southern Spain, and these indigenous elements. Like basically everybody who was forced to work in Cuba was just basically mixing all these musical things kind of congealed as you find in most like working cultures. It's just like this constant exchange of ideas. But it's an Afro I mean it is primarily an Afro-Caribbean tradition. And it's rhythmically some of the most complex shit on the planet. And I love religious music, but my my personal I prefer the music of of workers.
That to religious music. I mean,
Yeah, it's more religious to me in a certain aspect. It's like people like after a long fucking hard days of work, like getting together and like having some fun and bullshit and getting fucked up and like going at each other and and
mhm,
creating like this kind of you know this thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um
So you're studying, so as far as what you're actually playing, like the study that you're doing with him, you're playing the bata,
I
like those percussion
No,
instruments?
I'm playing congas and clave
Okay,
basically.
good.
So it's
Yeah,
like
okay, right
learning
on.
I don't there's a lot of rules around the bata about learning certain aspects of it, getting your hands washed. There's religious things around the bata that I just find, personally it's like I don't want to even get involved in that shit.
What religion is that? This, we're not talking Christianity here.
It's
This
you.
is like
It's
Yoruba.
the yeah. It's Yoruban, but it's a Cuban syncretism of that and Catholicism. It's
All right, all right, all right.
so it's regla de ocha. It's called la regla de ocha,
Okay.
and I just, I mean, I grew up in a religious household, a very religious household, and I know all the fucking, I know all the rules and
That
and
washing your hands stuff is bullshit. I've been saying it for years. Fuck it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I mean, like, dude, they have like, there's like rules about like, if a woman is menstruating, she can't be around the drums. It's like that's like there's like certain times that the drums, like women
Yeah.
can't touch the
Well, they
sacred drums.
push the drum. I mean, they rush the triplets when it's that, it's the whole.
No, but they're not even allowed to touch the sacred drums.
Yeah, that's out. Yeah, I mean, these are
You
these
know,
ancient religions. They fucking have this big crazy bullshit. Yeah,
well,
but
it's like any, I mean, and there's also like this aspect of like, like the Yoruban, like, like gentry, like was like one of the main people who rounded up people from the Congo and around Yoruba and sold them to
yeah,
Europeans to
right.
enrich themselves. They didn't give it. I mean, it's complicated. It's like, and I don't,
But you're allowed to study. I mean, yeah, you can study this music without like you said, without
I,
being
I,
into. But the bata, though, you said that specifically those drums have more of those prohibitions around them than the congas and
yeah,
stuff.
the congas are just are they're like they're just like they're not they're I guess they're secular, right? Is that the term? They're secular. Like,
Yeah, I mean, if it's not religious, it's secular.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's secular.
yeah, yeah.
So, I find more spirituality and like, in the party,
Mhm.
and like the um so I'm more interested in that. I'm more interested in that aspect of things. I
Yeah.
love bata. I love listening to bata, and I want to have like a bad translation of that in my playing, but I don't necessarily I haven't had the urge to like, to sit down and learn the bata. That's just
Yeah.
not. I
What
respect it. It's an incredible tradition. But
Yeah. But what's the vibe as far as like, I mean, this is like, traditional music that, I mean, it changes, evolves, and is cross-pollination, et cetera. But as far as like you were like playing stuff for me, and I think you were saying that the particular guy that you're studying with, what's his name again? The
Manley.
Okay, Manlay who had like that he was doing some really idiosyncratic, like avant-garde stuff with it that's like totally breaking with tradition.
It's
Is that
not
right? Or
it's not breaking. He's like an encyclopedia of tradition. Like he's a freak of nature. But he also has this kind of forward thinking like view. So it's like he's utilizing like his vast knowledge of like folkloric tradition and extending it
yeah, yeah,
it's pretty
yeah.
intense.
Yeah,
And
I
I
didn't
mean,
mean breaking with tradition. You didn't say breaking, but you were yeah, just that he's doing stuff that most cats are not doing, so you're getting this, like, next level shit in addition to
he's
tradition, like
he's yeah, he's like a special freak of nature, like musician and player, and he has his own twist on things, and it's like it's very interesting, and it's compelling. I mean, the shit that we're listening to, you're just like, what the fuck is going, you listen to it, it's like
Yeah,
technically horrifying, you know what I mean? It's the same
yeah, I
horror.
mean, it did sound like there were, like, several things going on that I couldn't that didn't really read to me as, like, polyrhythms in the, like, normal just, like, 3 against 2, and then it lines up it was, like, even more, I don't know,
It's
it
like
just sounded like multiple things that were kinda staggering over
it's
each other, and there's, like,
it's like a lattice it's like a lattice work of rhythm,
yeah,
and feels,
yeah,
um and um and like I don't know, like there's one time where, like, if you ask Monlay, like, how do you subdivide this, he's like, you don't.
right,
You have to learn how to feel it. It's not about
right,
subdivision. It's
yeah.
about, you feel this extremely syncopated music in a loose and organic way. That's the only way that you're actually going to learn it. If you learn it from like paper, or if you break it down mathematically against a metronome, it doesn't operate in the same
Well,
logic.
even just basic swing feel, I mean, even just literally just jazz itself, I mean,
Yeah, even in classical music, it's
you
like,
can have
it's got like a
there's so
specific lilt
many
to it.
there's so
That
many different ways to even just do swing. I mean, Art Blakey on a ride cymbal versus, like, Barry Altschul on a ride cymbal, it's like, if are you even gonna call both of those things swing? I mean, technically, but, like,
yeah,
we're
it's
looking
like
at,
you
like,
yeah,
yeah,
it's like you think it's yeah. I mean,
but
feel, man. Feel. I'm interested in. I'm interested in feel and
Yeah.
the multiplicity of feels that you
Yeah,
can.
yeah, I mean, yeah, because it sounded like multiple feels at once in the set, like, that you might have with, like, several different people playing and pushing and pulling ahead of the beat, on the beat, behind the beat, you might have in a jazz context, but, like, you were playing this solo percussion. I
Yeah.
think solo, was it that stuff that was
Yeah,
falling over
yeah.
and stuff? Right, he's like yeah,
He's like yeah, he can do like the work of 5 or 6 people
yeah.
and like make it sound like 5 or 6 people, which is just unbelievable.
Yeah, playing it like, people playing quite differently, that yeah.
It's
Um,
it's like it's some freaking nature shit, you know.
yeah. No, that's really sick. How has that been influencing has that been influencing how you play now in a way
Oh,
other than just, like, sort of
well,
like a really general vibe shit? Are you getting, like is there stuff showing up, Like
like being able to hold down like a loose and syncopated clave, like in a traditional way with your foot, and then play be able to play I could probably do like the work of 3 or 4 people with my hands and my feet. Being able to have that kind of like that that capability to switch feels at the drop of a dime while holding things um like that type of technique is has like is it's like it makes me think about the way that I play a quarter note,
Mhm.
and like in a hyper specific way, and I think it's like it's invaluable in a lot of ways. And now it's like I've also been doing a lot of polyrhythmic stuff with playing the bass with 2 hands, where I can switch different feels and make things drag and push against each other while playing. Um, like I like the idea of like being able to sound like multiple people on one instrument. Like it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah. Because I was definitely in one of those Moten tracks. I think it's like the first track on I can't remember which one of these records, but you're starting out with some like tapping on the bass, just like this groove. And it was like I was like, man, I actually have not heard I hadn't heard you play time in that way before. I actually mostly when I heard you play time was actually more in like a jazz, like a swinging jazz context. So to hear that, I was like, man, this does have a feel that maybe a big part of that feel was this like what you're talking about because you're definitely playing metric time, but it had a sort of 3D sort of like
Yeah, and it's like
wiggling kind of radiance to it.
yeah, it's like even when I'm playing single note lines, just like the ability to feel like these multiple spectrums of polyrhythmic feel. Like it's just like it's made. I just feel like it's made my playing like so much more fun for me and
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Uh, and it makes it like in a lot of ways easier to like judge drummers and get where they're coming
Gotta
from and
judge. You
and
gotta judge these motherfuckers, man.
put them
Yeah,
in the fucking hot seat, man.
yeah.
It's like
I
I think
love
that's the job as a bass player to like
to just judge. The great judge. I love, I really do love the idea and the reality of, of just how getting going deeper on grooves, like how that enriches music, playing that is not grooving at all, except insofar as everything's grooving. But but just shit where it's like technically what one would hear is that you're just doing drone stuff or noise stuff or like but like just the idea that like play like grooving
I mean
improves
that
your
I,
time even in non-groove, that it's just time is time, just that like working on time is time is
I so like I feel like the groove thing has been way more apparent in my playing the last like few years.
yeah.
But I had this kind of weird realization that was like given to me through an ex-girlfriend actually. She saw me play a gig that I wouldn't necessarily play. I was like on electric bass and it was like more group bass shit. And afterwards she's like, I never seen you smile so much while you're playing. And that really
Right.
affected me. I'm like, I love playing time and I love
Right.
sitting in a pocket. There's nothing that feels better. It's like, how do I introduce that element? Like, why am I always like trying to obscure that or like get away from that in my it's like I don't want I want that shit to I want people to be able to be like, like that shit
Yeah.
that
Yeah, well, there is a
makes you
thing that I don't know if this is how you felt when you got into it, but I do think to an extent I did, and a lot of people, when you get into like free jazz or, you know, non-idiomatic, I mean that's not real, but like, you know, if you're into jazz and then you get into, yeah, free jazz or music that doesn't have as much of a defined groove. Yeah, I think for a lot of people there is this negative thing of like, I'm going against the group, you know, or I'm leaving something behind, or like, you know, like not
Eh,
like feeling it as a break more than as just like an expansion or something, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
When you
totally. I mean,
get
the
into new
idea,
shit,
the
you're like,
idea of like forward motion and you know, the idea of like, you know, like progress is just, I don't know, man. It's this kind of linear idea of like this is the next, this is the logic. Like, of course, I think that every like, you know, generation has its thing to refuse, and like and like, you know, scrutinize. Like that's, I think those things are important, but you know, they're not like to have that be some kind of dogmatic like view on the way that you like. I mean, I feel like in a lot of improvised music there's like this resistance to time and this resistance to like, you know, like to like certain aspects of music, and it's like a like kind of like a philosophical choice or like a
right, right.
political choice.
Well, like, yeah, yeah,
And
it gets into
and
like, well, if we're gonna play time, then what genre is the time gonna be? You know, like it's like like, oh no, if we play time, it's gonna be in a genre, and that's bad or something, you know, or
y- yeah, or yeah, I don't know. It's just like, you know, I just you know, I mean, you always have to exclude something. It's just a, you know, like
true.
it doesn't need to be, you know, some sort of dogmatic idea of refusal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, like that's, you know, that's what's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
No,
that I
totally.
don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking, I mean, we've talked about the idea of progress. Like I definitely have, um yeah, weird like mixed feelings about just this thing of like, I love the idea of the avant-garde, but I also somehow really don't like the idea of linear progress, you know? Like I love that vibe of like that spirit of like the new reaching beyond, pushing, but the idea that it's like, oh, this is the next step forward, that somehow is like totally
I mean,
Nazi to me, you know?
I just feel like that's just part of the fucking thing. It's like, you know, like it doesn't even need to be stated that it's like, you know, the avant-garde. It's just like people are, you know, they're constant, you know, every generation has its way of reflecting the, you know, like the situation, and that ends up being like the, you know, um that ends up, you know, being the avant, you know, like that ethos. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
that
I mean,
that
well,
is
these are, you know, some of these words, like, you know, they change their meaning, or they can be like, you know, feel useless or whatever in certain ways. Like to me, I
I'm
just
not,
like,
yeah, I feel like I'm not qualified to talk about this
like
shit. It's
I
like I feel like I'm such a fucking idiot, you know.
no, dude, we didn't self-deprecating. It's fun. No, I mean, I'm like, yeah, I'm just saying, I kind of like for years, like when I was younger and I got into free jazz, I was just like, dude, it's all about the avant-garde, but also this kind of sense of a little bit into that progress vibe. I got older, I was like, oh, the word avant-garde's kind of corny. And now I'm coming back to it where it's like not, yeah, it's like not about this, like, it's not about this ideal or dogmatic thing about like, this is what has to be next, but it is this thing about like taking risk and like sort of uh just that risk taking, high risk thing of like reaching for stuff that like might not work, people might not like, you might not like, I mean, just, you know, just
Yeah, and the
that thing
fact
of
that
like
it's
shit that
like,
might fail, I mean, just that pushing, you know, to me, like when I think of avant-garde, it's like that, you know.
yeah, and I mean, I like the idea of like, you know, that risk-taking element being like embedded in something as like, you know, not harmless as like aesthetics, you know what I mean? It's like if you fail in aesthetics, it's like you're not killing somebody, you know what I mean? You're just maybe wasting someone's time,
Yeah, and
but
you're killing yourself spiritually though if you're like, I mean, if you, no, no, but you're not killing yourself spiritually if you make shitty music, but if you avoid the risk, you are. Um, but yeah, yeah, like rejecting shit playing I mean, yeah, I never rejected time, but it's just I felt like to get into Cecil, I had to just be like,
oh,
I'm not into bebop, at least for a while, you know, to
his
be
I
like, oh,
mean,
this is a break, even though it's like not a break, even if you know it's not a break.
I definitely felt that way like getting into that shit, but now it's like I hear it and I'm like, this is so much. this is like in so many ways um a part of that, and it is so rhythmic and like
Yeah.
in like a in a way that is very connected to that, and I don't even think it's like in like some sort of oblique way. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
like,
just,
actually, yeah, like, like, more clear, yeah, yeah,
yeah. um
yeah. Let's do you have new stuff coming up? This is a little bit less, like,
of
deep
gigs.
philosophical stuff, or just, like, I don't know, like, are you working is Fred the main thing now? I know this is coming back, away from deep philosophical stuff. I'm just kinda interested.
I've been working on a trio that actually, deals that's dealing with like, pretty strict rhythmic ideas. They're not strict, but like, yeah, but in a certain sense strict rhythmic ideas. And
Like,
we're playing
time,
tonight.
like
Yeah, it's like time as like one of the main time, and repetition as like one of the main drivers of like, of form and improvisation from form.
this groove.
And yeah, and we're playing tonight. This is actually our first gig, and it's with Dennis Sullivan, who you introduced me to.
Oh, hell yeah, dude, Dennis rules, man. Oh, you're
Yeah,
playing with
Dennis,
Dennis?
dude, Dennis
Man.
fucking rules. Yeah, I
Oh,
love
yeah,
Dennis.
dude, Dennis
So
loves
Dennis,
Portal, man. Yeah, Dennis is a big death metal guy, black metal, yeah.
yeah, great, fantastic percussionist. He
Yeah.
can kind of do everything.
That's awesome.
And then Chuck Roth on guitar is like a younger, another Jersey guy.
Yes, yes,
But
yes, Chuck Ro yeah, Jessica was telling me about Chuck Roth and
Chuck,
you as well, yeah.
yeah, Chuck is fantastic. Real, like, like kind of coming out of this post Bailey thing in like a very, charged, deep way. It's cool. So
Where are you playing? What's the
this place called Pit, 411 South Fifth.
right. People check it out.
Tonight at 8 p.m. And then a friend of mine, Maggie Cox, is playing solo. She's an amazing bass player. She went to Curtis, like, freak classical player, but also, into the weird shit,
Mhm.
and just like a cool person. But there's that. I'm still working on a lot of solo stuff. I've got a few solo gigs coming up. I'm playing at the ICA and the Institute of Contemporary Art in Philadelphia
Oh,
next
cool,
not
that's a
this
good
week, but
gig,
the week.
yeah.
Yeah, and then me and Fred go down to Big Ears for a few days. Um, and then I come back, I have another gig with, I'm still doing, I'm still very embedded in improv, playing, like improv gigs. I'm playing with Malaby and Dan Weiss and Brandon Seabrook. It's a place called Close Up on April 5th. And that same day I'm playing up at the Wadsworth Kent in Hartford in the middle of the day,
Yeah.
solo. So I mean, there's still a lot of solo work. There's a lot of work with Fred coming up, which is really exciting. Like we'll be in London too at Cafe Otto. We're doing a fucking recording at what is it called? At Maida Valley.
Yeah.
Um,
That's spot on. Oh, Otto is so cool, man. That's where Extra Life played the
Otto's
last time we were
Otto's
in.
the Otto's the shit, but we're doing like a BBC thing, and we're up in Cambridge and then Utrecht, and then we're
Yeah.
in Florence for a few days, and then I come
Jeez.
back, and then I come back for a week, and then I'm out on tour with Tom Rainey and Ingrid Laubrock in Europe for about 15 days.
Alright.
So I mean, I'm still like doing tons of shit.
Yeah.
But I'm settling into projects a lot more, which is nice. It's like I've
Regular
got,
things that play a lot of gigs.
yeah, it's like ever since I had my kid, it's like there's like less energy to be like kind of all over the place, and I've had to be very focused,
Yeah.
and it's good. It's very good. I really needed that type of rudder, because like I'll just say yes to anything or everything, and
Right, right, right,
I would
right.
just wanna like
Well,
see what's up,
fucking New York, man, it's just like, why I mean, I'm in some it's funny, before I left New York, before I moved to LA, I was just like on some just like, I only do just like my own stuff, little thing. And it's like, moved to LA, I was like, dude, I want to get home and say yes, dude. I am like,
I
I am very much in the mode to saying yes to things,
Well, it's just like there's like such a fucking vast array of things here to get involved in, and it's like it's just overwhelming after a certain amount of time. But when you leave and you actually like you see like you know, it's nice to get out and fucking get be revitalized
Well,
and
this
like
was the
that.
scene. I mean, this was the scene, even though it's, you're talking about several overlapping scenes, but this is a scene where I was just like, this does not exist in LA. This, I mean, barely a little bit, but I mean, yeah, this is the realm that New York has, like more than any other place. Um, but yeah, man. Well, yeah, I'm thinking, coming up on 2 hours, I think this is a good cadence point,
I
for
I
the
I just
you
switched headphones because my shit's about to die. So I was about to
Yeah,
say,
alright, there
and
you go.
I gotta piss like a fucking racehorse, man.
Alright.
It's
S Sick, man. Well, dude, thank you so
Charlie's like,
much.
shut the fuck up.
No, what no, not at all.
Fucking animal.
No,
Sorry I couldn't answer the
dude
comments, man.
dude, if you wanna talk about piss, I mean, I interviewed Necro, right? I mean, you know that?
I don't know
Necro
what.
You don't know Necro? I'll send you some Necro. He's like a
All right.
death rap dude. It's all his stuff's about decapitation. He's like a white Jewish guy from the projects. He's like classic New York boom bap shit. But he actually took a piss during our interview. Like we went to the bat, he
Oh, dude, I was thinking about doing that, just muting the fucking mic.
dude,
It's like,
Necro beat you to it, man.
fucker.
It was he put me in my place. I think that was, it was a power move. But it's really good power move. I need more women on this fucking show, dude. In a big way, man. We need more women, dude. But yeah, man. Thanks so much. Also, it's good to end also on hyping up the gigs because you got one tonight. Everyone, check out Brandon playing tonight with great, percussionist Dennis Sullivan, great guitarist Chuck Roth playing at Pitt tonight.
And we're playing compositions of mine. So
Yeah. Oh, it's compositions in the sense of like ink. So nerdy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll show you some. Hold on.
See, now I don't want to wrap it up because like I didn't actually even know. I didn't know you were doing stuff lately that's like strict, like well, not strict.
I'm doing a fucking. I'm doing a master's in composition right now.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that. Oh, nice, dude. Nice. Wait, hold that up a little bit more, man. I'm feeling this. Nice, using a ruler. Hell yeah, man.
No, not even.
Oh, not even. All right.
Yeah, man. Just psychotic freehand.
Nice hand, man. All right.
Thanks.
That's awesome. Well, damn. See, Bucksy, I want to see that. I was gonna go to Roulette, or I am gonna go to Roulette to see Anzu Quartet play Mario's piece.
Mario's the shit, man.
Mario is the shit.
And he's a good dude too.
Oh man, he's so deep. So I'm gonna see that string quartet, man. I wish it. Well, when are you playing at Pitt? What's
we're on at 9.
Yeah, that's
that's
yeah,
man. It's
anyway.
Whatever.
Well,
I'll play more with this band. So
seriously, because I want to hear that shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a lot more. It's gonna be more focused on this trio and also extending the solo stuff. I'm really kind of putting the blinders on for the development of some ideas.
I mean, most of what I've mostly seen you play solo, and then with Steve Bajowski or whatever. I have not actually seen you do music of like, written like notes, ink and stuff. So
one of my first bands in New York was like written. Was all written.
Who was that with? I must.
It was with a guitar player named John Welsh, who's just a freak. He's in Tucson now. And then Derek Barron, who runs the label Reading Group, who stopped playing drums. He's a great.
Oh damn! Okay, yes, I didn't even know this. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, pre me kind of.
Yeah, we go in and out of these things though. You have like deep experiences writing music, then you're like, I'm not doing that for a while, and then you come back to it, and you're like, it's like
Yeah. I felt like what I was doing was like very very derivative, and I felt like I needed to like actually earn my keep. You know what I mean? In terms of like developing something.
Dude.
Like mine. Yeah. Now I'm 37.
Man.
I'm coming up on 40, and I feel like I'm like ready to actually start delving into some ideas that I have.
Because I've been coming back around to improvisation. I mean, not that I'm doing a ton of it, but I'm like right now way into saying yes to improv stuff, like which I wouldn't have been at all.
Let's play, motherfucker.
I'm ready, dude. I know. Dude, yes.
Malaby still talks about you, man.
Yeah. Malaby's sick. Yeah. Everyone's talking about me, man. People talk, but no, it's not true.
You gotta start
actually.
Yeah. Why don't we refer to ourselves in the third person?
I haven't quite gotten there yet.
Like the Brandon Lopez thinks that that's what I'm going to start phrasing.
Right. There's levels. There are levels of hurdles that like I don't want to put between me and other people that they have to tolerate. There's like
It takes
There,
a real special person to pull that kind of shit off, and for you to be like, "Oh, this is sick," you know what I mean?
I know, but it's like also
This is
there's
like a great situation.
how much of that is just by force? Like you're like, well, he's doing that. He must be he must be worthy of that if he's even, arrogating that insane right to himself,
I think it's
third
also a
person.
delivery. It's like a type of delivery that warrants that kind of like. It's like there's like a certain amount of like humor that's either intentional or not intentional. That's kind of embedded in that kind of shit too. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And
Well,
that
see,
type of like extreme narcissism. You know?
but I don't know. There's something deep though about making people like find out that you're deep. Not like humbling, like oh I suck, and then they fight, but just a certain like not like fucking Thurwell, dude. Like he's not like hey everyone, like I did fetus. He's just kind of like lamping, just macking the back, and then people like oh shit, that's he did that. Like, you're like oh now I know, like that kind of like not third person, like not ramming it down. I respect that a lot. I love that.
Yeah, I could respect all forms of like confidence.
Yeah.
I like that shit. But
Hell yeah,
you know,
man. Well, yeah, let's get together and play. Well, when I last was like, dude, let's play, you were like, let's do monk tunes. I was like, I did not expect you to say that, and I'm
dude,
definitely into it.
I've only been practicing standards. It's like for the last like for the last few months.
All
So
right. I'd love to do monk tunes with you. I kind of would like to do just like some void shit though. I do
just
kind of
come over, man.
I kind of just want to go to hell, man. You me and a
I'll cook
drummer.
some I'll
You
cook some
me
lunch.
Yeah, dude. You mean a drummer. Let's get a drummer and do some power trio uh
Let's do it.
voidness. Yeah.
All right.
Sick, man. All right. You're a beautiful man. I love
Love you,
hanging
man.
with you, man. Much
Dude,
love to you. So much. All right.
glad to chat. I think
Yeah.
that was really fun.
People love this. People loved it. They're gonna love it even more soon. All right, man. Talk to you soon.
See you later, man.
Peace, bro.